It was the final voyage of America's mightiest battleship.
What's on this helicopter?
This little sweetheart, Miss July 89.
God, I love this business.
I love you.
The party was wild.
Love you to death.
They really knocked them dead. Imagine this arsenal of tactical nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands. The Pentagon never did.
4 minutes ahead of schedule. Damn, I'm good.
Now, a team of terrorists have taken over.
Wake up the president.
But there's just one thing they didn't count on.
Oh my God! It's WWE COO Triple H! Triple H is here! Stephanie's husband, Triple H, is here!
If you won't make the damn announcement, I will. The fifth member of Team Raw is me.
Oh my God! What?
The following announcement's been paid for by the Savo and Stubby Show.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
What is up, wrestling fans? It's me, S-T-U-B-B. Why? Because of the man, the myth, the legend, the mighty man himself, Stubby. Finally back in studio after, a month away from the game. And I have to say, I really missed you guys. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, the godfather of this podcast. He is the Sami Zayn to my Kevin Owens. He is the Laverne to my Shirley. The Ross to my Chandler Bing.
The Nash to the Scott Hall outsider.
Yeah, I just had one in my head too. Anyway, he is the enigmatic, charismatic Greek mystique, Savo the Savior.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back. We're coming up on episode 24 here. Got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. War Games, NXT War Games. We got Survivor Series, and then next week we have Starrcade.
You know what's funny is I don't know if it's the way they format the show, kind of like how Impact does it, but in a day and age now when we have spoilers already put on the internet, when you've got a show like NXT that is pre-recorded, it completely takes you out of the element to want to watch it.
Right.
Because I knew about a month and a half ago what the match was going to be at War Games when Triple H announced that they were bringing back that pay-per-view, and it completely took me off the show. I had no interest at all to watch it. It's like watching a football game and knowing the score ahead of time.
Right.
What's the point of watching it?
Exactly. I tried watching NXT last night to prepare for today's War Games, and honestly, I just couldn't get into it. But I haven't watched it in months, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, it's rough, too, because when you look down the barrel of what WWE has for the future for NXT and coming up to the main roster, there's really nobody there that impresses.
I like that Aleister Black guy.
Yeah.
I think he should be part of Sanity.
Yeah, but you literally get a needle in a haystack now.
Right.
It's a lot of these smaller guys. And I go on YouTube and I watch Up, Up, Down, Down by Xavier Woods. Oh. It's his gaming channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's really cool to watch these wrestlers out of their element playing video games and stuff.
Right.
But then you stop and look at it as a fan, you're like, holy shit, kayfabe is completely dead.
Right.
When you've got guys that are going against each other, the Usos versus New Day.
And they're all backstage
and they're all hanging out video
together, yeah.
Not only that, but you look back at it, do you think you'd ever see, I mean, if it was during their time, do you think you'd see Ric Flair sitting back there
hell no.
playing a game with Kevin Nash?
Hell no.
It's just the way that the sport or the entertainment has evolved.
changed
to the point where you got big guys that were intimidating and a spectacle to look at, and now you got these smaller guys that are like, "Hey, can I play a video game with you? What's your gamer tag?" And it's just the whole element. It scares me because I've been a fan since the '80s. I mean, I wasn't old enough to really understand it.
Yeah,
but I was alive during that time.
Right.
And to watch it evolve or devolve, depending on how you want to look at it.
Kind of a devolve for me personally, but I mean, it is what it is.
And before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this episode, you had, I was going to say tweeted because you haven't tweeted, but we are, ladies and gentlemen, on Twitter officially. So you can find us at Savo and Stubby. So make sure you add us and help push the show because we are looking for an audience and we're struggling.
We want you.
We want you to be part of the Savo Nation.
That's right.
But you messaged me that there is some interesting play on Twitter right now with Eric Bischoff.
Oh, yeah.
Austin Aries and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Well, after I texted you the other day about that, I found something else on it, and Bischoff said that in no way, shape, or form is it they're going to start a new company. So with that in mind, I have no idea where it's going to go. I think throwing Aries in there is kind of like, what the fuck, you know? But it's always kind of been Bischoff and Hogan doing stuff, blah, blah, blah. But with Aries in there, I don't know where it's going to go, but kind of excited to see what they have up their sleeve there.
I have an idea where it can go.
Where?
With the fact that he, whether or not he's working us, there is currently a federation out there that is looking to build itself, and the owner of this said federation...
Would that be the CWA?
No, but this owner of this federation has made it very clear that he has a 20-year plan in effect, and getting the right people. Unfortunately, these are not the right people. But getting the right people in place can actually build a roster, and that's NWA.
That'd be kind of cool.
With
because they still have the prestige of if they do play their cards right.
For some reason, I can't think of his name. He was in the movie Powder.
Powder? Oh, Jeff Goldblum?
No, Billy Corgan.
That dude was white.
Yeah, that was reaching. Okay.
No, it was good. It was good.
So we've had the last month off, and I have to tell you, a lot has happened in this last month. And it's funny because it's the month that we decided to take off. And two, we haven't seen this much action or movement since WrestleMania back in March. So
for me, there was some highlights, and I know we kind of got into debates there about if it was good or not, or what we liked and didn't like. And it was kind of funny because it was almost like what I liked, you didn't like. What you liked, what you liked, I didn't like.
Well, we'll dive deep into that.
Right.
We won't go over the whole show for Raw and SmackDown over the last couple weeks, but we will touch on the things that had us talking.
Need to be touched on.
Complained.
Giggity.
Yeah, giggity.
That's my second one.
Yeah. But some of the notables that happened during this time period were the releases from WWE, which were not exactly game changers.
Yeah.
Or
the only one that threw me off was Emma because they were kind of pushing her.
Yeah, and there was much speculation that it was because her performance with Asuka, that she gave too much offense and made Asuka look weak, which led to Leo Rush posting a comment on Twitter that got a lot of people pissed. And he's young. I mean, it's understandable. You're going to make mistakes like that. And Mick Foley and Regal came to his aid and said, people make mistakes.
I thought the match was good decent. It was,
That's just it. She had a great match. It was
too good, yeah.
She had a great match with her, but she made Asuka look weak. And that just leads to me complaining about what happened on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown with the TakeOver, where Asuka is supposed to be this, Empress of Tomorrow.
She looks like one of those Asian porn stars.
My point being is that she's supposed to be almost like Baron Corbin, where she's like this lone wolf.
Right.
But she was a team player, and she was smiling and getting along with it.
Right, exactly.
So to blame it on Emma, if that was in fact the case, is kind of...
I think it all kind of stems
Scapegoating.
with the Emelina bit. They're still pissed off at her about that, and just things kind of piled up on her, so it's like, fuck you, you're out.
But in all honesty, there are some gimmicks that should have died.
Yeah, Emelina just... Why do you want to go back to the... Okay, everybody talks about the Attitude Era being so great, and I know this is kind of like not not planned here, but the Attitude Era, it was just too much for me. It was too... I mean, Stone Cold was cool, but it was overdone. It was just everything... every day, every Raw, whatever, it's like, fuck you, I'm, Stunner. It's like the same shit over and over. And to me, it just got overdone. It had its highlights, don't get me wrong.
This is no knock on Ed Ferrara or Vince Russo, because I love Russo. I listen to Russo every day. But the way Jim Cornette said it in a shoot interview was that Vince and Ed Ferrara used to sit down and watch Jerry Springer and literally base their shows on the drama that came from Jerry Springer.
That makes sense.
Which does make sense. And you can't fault the guy for taking inspiration on what was popular during the time.
Right.
Because it did put asses in seats. It did draw ratings. But the fact that Vince Russo claims that, he's responsible for the Attitude Era, he's not. It's a team effort.
Right.
I mean, you can't have an Attitude Era if you don't have wrestlers in place that can carry out the story.
Exactly, yeah.
And he does give credit to, like, Austin. He says he didn't make Austin, he didn't make The Rock, but he did put the templates there. He does claim that he gave Triple H the name The Game and built that character. So if that's the case, he's an asshole for that. Because Triple H is still inserting himself in matches he doesn't need to. But I do have to say, his presence in this match does make it a little more interesting, looking at the card. But if you combine the rosters for Raw and SmackDown, there's over 100-something years of age. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Angle combined are 98 years, because they're both 48 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah. For sure. No, we had the releases we just mentioned. We had latest one, James Ellsworth, which, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. Probably nobody really expected him to be there as long as he was.
It's disappointing, too, because when you look at someone like Austin Aries, he said they were on a mutual agreement for the release. But the reason why he was released was they didn't have anything for him. Now, with that said, with James Ellsworth, they did kind of ruin that gimmick by putting him on a dog leash for the longest time. That wasn't necessary. There was still story to be sold there because Carmella still has the briefcase.
Also, there was I didn't read it because honestly, I don't want to read it because it's just too stupid. But McMahon had a plan for him to. I don't know. I didn't read it, but be dressed up as a woman.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. He did it with Big Vito.
Right, so it's just like, I saw the headline of it and just like, I don't even want to read that. But there was also another thing that said that he was supposed to get a title shot at WrestleMania, which to me just sounds absurd. There's no reason for that.
No, you know what's absurd is the fact that he beat AJ Styles multiple times, yet he can't beat Becky Lynch.
Well, they want you to believe he beat him because of Dean Ambrose. But
you know what's funny too is we look at this. We live in they call it a snowflake era,
right?
And it really has had an effect on me, which sucks because I am laid back. I am not one of those people that give two shits about what other people are doing. Comments don't offend me, yada yada yada. But I kind of felt uncomfortable watching James Ellsworth wrestle Becky Lynch. And I don't know. It wasn't like that in the 90s. I mean, it happened all the time. China fought people all the time. But to see it nowadays, it's just because it was so, was it faux pas? What's it called? When it's taboo. There you go.
Oh.
Taboo. That it felt awkward. Kind of like when they had the cage match with Kevin Owens and Shane. We've seen people up on the cage many times, but it just felt uncomfortable to see them up there.
I didn't feel any of that.
You're dead inside.
Well, no, the match, you really wanted to see Ellsworth against Becky Lynch. I mean, it didn't make a difference to me, but, sure, I wanted to see the outcome of it, how it was going to go down, but...
What pisses me off is that I have Cody and everything set up on my projector, and I get so excited to watch Raw and SmackDown, and I get mad when it doesn't start right away. I'm like, I missed the first 10, 15 minutes. And then by hour 3, I'm like, why did I spend the last 3 hours watching this shit? And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm one of those fans, like Vince Russo talks about, that I'm going to watch regardless.
Right.
And it sucks that I'm going to watch regardless. But the way he referenced it, too, is that this last episode of Raw, which I'm hearing a lot of people raving and saying that it was a great episode, which I don't see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say it was great. It just seems like their episodes, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, are mediocre, followed by a pop at the end, a high point at the end.
Which is what most TV shows do, except they're not building to that. There's no, not consistency, when everything flows.
Right.
And there's like, every once in a while you'll see it, where they'll talk about something at the very beginning of the show. Midway through the show, they retouch on it. Like you'll see, let's say, the Shield call somebody out in the beginning, and then midway through you see them walk in the back locker room, they confront somebody, and at the end there's where the action happens. Which is one thing that Vince Russo was really good at, was he was able to draw a story all the way through the episode. Now, given a lot of those stories were bullshit and they weren't stuff that you wanted to see all the way through, this last episode of Raw and SmackDown, they actually kind of did that with building up. See, I'm all over the place with this. Raw and SmackDown are like two different beasts,
right?
Two different animals altogether. Raw will produce something for the next week. They only look 1 week ahead. Kind of, they look for those moments where SmackDown builds to things. Like Daniel Bryan coming out and confronting Shane, he touched on it for a second and said, we'll get to that later, yada, yada, yada. So that's going to be a long, slow build, which they have a 2-hour show, yet they have the ability to do that, where SmackDown or Raw has a 3-hour show and they can't do that.
Oh, it goes back to when they did the draw, when they were picking, sites, whatever. They were getting, 3-1?
Yeah.
Raw was getting, I mean, come on. That doesn't make any sense.
Which is funny, too, because I think WWE and Vince McMahon are really creative this time around, because I think what we're going to see at Survivor Series is a superstar shakeup. They're just not going to call it that. There's so many storylines in place right now, people turning their backs on each other and screwing people over, that I think we're going to see a roster change. I mean, you got Finn Balor and Samoa Joe on the same team, who were fighting a week ago.
Right.
You've got Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, who are not even on the SmackDown team.
I know. I was hoping they'd be on the...
That I'm sure are going to be bitter and going to cost SmackDown, which is a good reason to have them jump over. I mean, you've got Kurt Angle and Shane. You got beef. But then you have Triple H, who also has beef.
Right. With
the McMahon family and Angle. So, yeah, once again, I'm all over the place. So we had James Ellsworth, which is not a bad thing. I mean, the guy, he knew
he served his purpose. He knew it wasn't, going to be a permanent fixture.
And he noted that on his Twitter account that, he wanted to go to WWE to live a dream, and he got to live that dream, and he's grateful. But he's got a wrestling school, too, and he's got his own promotion, so he's not hurting. And I'm sure it's not going to be the end of James Ellsworth. Just don't have time for him right now.
Right. Summer Rae, she hasn't been on TV forever.
Which is funny because don't knock me for this, but I have Summer Rae and Eva Marie on my Snapchat, and they are posting all the time, and I'm like, when do you have time for that shit if you're supposed to be in the business? And you don't see them on TV, and I know...
Oh, there's another one, a release.
Right, and I know Eva Marie's been released a long time ago, but it's just like Summer Rae was there, and she wasn't there. I mean, the only person that I know of officially that's on the roster like that doesn't do anything is Mark Henry. But you'll see him at, Royal Rumble. But I hear he's looking for a job in the back. So he's on the roster.
The other two that I had written down are been a while, Neville and Aries.
Right. And, we haven't done the show for a month. And to my knowledge, Neville is requesting his release. He's not official.
I heard that he might be coming back. I don't know.
Well, that's just it. WWE is pulling that you want release, we're not going to let you go. So you either sit and tarnish your name, or you play ball. And I get it. He is a great talent. He has a lot to offer. But you're no better than anybody else on the roster. You know, everyone's there to play ball.
Right.
You were given a spot to do a job, and a lot of these guys are grateful for that experience. You know, I mean, do you think Dolph Ziggler is bitching for the fact that he's a mid-card jobber?
Probably.
I mean, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does it for TV. I mean, look at Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder.
Yeah, but they never. I mean, they never achieved the success so far as like Dolph Ziggler or anything.
Right, but there's got to be a storyline put in place. You're not dealing with 6 storylines. You're dealing with 50-plus personalities.
Right. Oh, definitely.
And you have to go. I mean, we give shit for this all the time about how we can write better for the show, but could we really? You know,
I never said I could write better.
I mean, I always say we can do a better angle, yada yada.
Right? No, I know.
But
well,
you know,
everybody's got a opinion, and
but in all honesty, could we really? I don't think I could.
Probably not.
I mean, I can say, yeah, hey, you're going to go out and say this,
and then what's going to happen after that? You know,
right? And I can put all that into format, but then I don't know the timing. I don't know how much TV time we have. I don't know commercial breaks. I don't know, you know. And if it's not sold correctly, and it kills the gimmick, now I got to come up with something else real quick on the fly, and I can't.
Right.
So, good example, Bray Wyatt. I mean,
that's funny because I was just
meningitis was the best thing.
Yeah, that was the best thing could have happened to him,
to his career for the moment, and then he comes out and jobs out to
who was it?
Jason Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of got his heat back by injuring him. I mean, that's pretty sad when you got the crowd saying "Thank you, Wyatt" for.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the Jordan. I just like his ability. Is what I'm getting. Where I'm going.
He's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't see that anymore.
You know what's funny is that I think he actually summoned up some real emotion when he came out to ask Kurt Angle.
I was gonna say he's doing a hell of a job acting here.
But you know what? I don't think it was acting. I think he was really truly hurt by the fans saying "Thank you, Jordan" or "Thank you, Wyatt" for fucking his leg up.
Yeah, I was just like, damn, he's actually pulling this off really good.
Because if you look back 6 months ago or 8 months ago, he was part of American Alpha. He was on top for that tag team. And to see where he's at now, he's almost like your sympathetic babyface, except nobody likes him. So he's like the opposite. He's not a heel, but he's treated like a heel.
Right, yeah. Well, here comes the heel turn, bro.
I honestly think he's more disliked than Jinder Mahal, which is pretty sad because Jason Jordan was America's sweetheart not too long ago.
Right, exactly.
But I guess it's really easy to stem emotion whenever you really truly feel that way.
Yeah.
And then you have notes of Austin Aries, and that one's been for a while. But
yeah.
I talked to you. I listened to a podcast that he did. I believe it was with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet, but I saw it.
Damn good interview. And if you listen to the interview, you would get the impression that Austin Aries is looking for a comeback to WWE. He had nothing bad to say. He made it seem as if it was his fault the whole way through.
I also read that he actually didn't request a release, which was noted that he did.
And then he said that he had to clear up some information on his tweets because I guess there's a tweet saying that he was making so much more money on the indies. And the way he explained it, he wasn't doing it to like say, hey, you know,
I don't need you guys. Right.
He was saying that, you know, I don't have to work as many dates and I have that creative freedom. So that way, it's not put on the writers, you know.
Right.
If I want to get work, I can get work. Where he says, don't get me wrong, I love the stability of knowing that I had a place there in WWE.
Yeah, definitely.
And he said I was one of those utility guys that, you know, if you wanted me to job out somebody, I'll job out to somebody. But they just didn't have anything for me, which I find that very hard to believe, especially now with the way that 205 is going.
It's also kind of been rumored, even with his time in TNA or whatever, that. You know, he is kind of difficult. Not difficult, but difficult to get along with backstage politics. Blah blah blah.
Do you think that he is as good as the Mystique or the?
I do. Not from what I saw him doing in WWE, but what I saw him doing in TNA.
And that's the other thing too, is a lot of people will look at wrestlers on WWE and go, "Well, this guy sucks," or "This guy is not that great." They have specific confines that they have to abide by when it comes to.
At the call of WWE. I mean, what they want them to do, they got to do.
I mean, look at Shinsuke Nakamura. From what I heard, I haven't seen any of his matches outside of WWE, but from what I heard, it's amazing. And the guy is structured to do certain jobs in WWE, and it gets buried by half-assed storylines and not being allowed. I mean, the biggest example would be Sin Cara coming in with a certain move set that you're not allowed to use.
The only one that carried that over pretty damn well and has like the same, move set that he had before is pretty much AJ Styles.
Yeah, and I bet you AJ came to them saying, "Hey, this is what I can offer. This is what I require, and this is what you'll get." And he's delivered what he said he's going to deliver.
Exactly.
Was there anything? I mean, I know there's been a few releases in Impact. If you want to touch on that.
Yeah, obviously not include. I mean, that was a while ago. The Hardys and Drew McIntyre and stuff, but there have been quite a few. But listen to this. Okay, Taryn Terrell. Okay, to me that was a big loss because she had some great matches with Gail Kim. But Shane Helms, do you give two shits about Gail? I mean, really?
I do though, because
I mean, as a mid card kind of talent, but
it's just
if you're struggling, would you keep him or cut him?
Let's just sit. Is he a good hand? He has always been a good hand. Yeah, the gimmick is no longer, we're not in the gimmick era, but he's like Al Snow, where you know what you're getting with the guy, and you know that he can deliver a match.
But if you're paying $500,000 to these people, you need to cut costs.
If you're paying $500,000 for a mid card, that's your fault.
Whatever it is, I'm just saying. But it's like they got rid of Earl Hebner. Who the fuck wants to pay an overpriced referee when you're fucking struggling? What does Earl Hebner bring to the product now? A referee. Anybody, I mean, not anybody, but...
Right. It's name recognition for those that are been a fan of WWE back in that...
I mean, I understand that, but if you need to cut costs, to me, that'd be a perfect
We met the
example.
guy. He's a great guy.
Right.
He's a funny guy.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you're having... I mean, okay, if you're having trouble paying your bills at home, what do you got to do? Cut your cable back? You got to do something.
Let's put it in perspective. Let's say... You're running a federation yourself, and you and I have been friends for 20-plus years, and I've been your referee for 20-plus years. If when times get hard, you're just going to let me go? Would it be that easy just to say...
No, I'm not saying it's easy, but it makes sense to me.
I mean, it does too, but at the same time...
You read all the things on like Facebook or whatever, and it's just like, oh, TNA's going down, blah, blah, blah. Which, yeah, they have been going through some rough times, but to cut... Earl Hebner and say, "Oh my God!" It's like that's not a shock to me.
But you also know what you're getting with Earl Hebner. He can play storyline. He knows how to act. He knows where to be. He knows what's required. Where you can't say that with some of the refs today. I mean, look at WWE's refs now. They're all like in their early 20s.
Yeah, they're all really young.
They look like little kids, and some of them just overact.
But getting back to the releases, okay, Rockstar Spud. He had a great gimmick, but I couldn't stand the guy. Robbie E, he was like a Jersey Shore type. I couldn't stand his gimmick.
Robbie E will do fine in the indies because I've actually listened to him on the Keeping It 100.
He'd probably do good in like NXT or something like that.
Right. I mean, again, you're looking at people, again, that are living gimmicks.
Right.
And that gimmick era is kind of dead. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some places that still thrive on that, and I kind of miss that era. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see a Duke the Dumpster Drosy versus, the Reaper or the Repo Man.
How about the Widowmaker versus what was it?
Waylon Mercy. I mean, Waylon Mercy was a good character. That's a creepy mother beeper.
I'd have to go back and watch it.
I censored myself, beeper. What the hell?
But like when the whole Impact thing started happening, the changes, they were bringing in people which. I never even knew anything about these people. Reno Scum and Luster the Legend. Honestly, goodbye. They never meant shit to me.
Well, Reno Scum was big on the indie scene, and that's just it. A lot of these names...
Does that have to do with the pork chop fucking sideburns?
I don't follow indies. I really don't. I know names. I hear names.
I think that's Luster the Legend.
Like Leo Rush is another one that I really don't know the background on.
Yeah.
I just know that he's, 19, 20 years old? And he's got like 3 years in the business already, and he's established himself on the indie scene, which is not easy to do.
Right.
I mean, you ask Roger and Josh, I'm sure it's not... You have to have the right promotion, you have to have the right location.
It takes a part, plays a part.
You have to be in front of the right people.
Right.
And there's so many federations and these indie scenes out there. It's like, you want to buy a T-shirt, and you got all these mom and pop shops, but there's a Walmart right on the corner.
Right.
Why are you going to go to the mom and pop shops when you've got a known I don't know where I'm going with that.
You probably get it cheaper at Walmart.
Right.
But okay, to end up
Still makes no sense to what I was referencing.
to end up the Impact TNA stuff. Bram just got released also, but if you think about it, I mean that's like another Alberto Del Rio. He used to be with Charlotte a while back, and he's been known for like,
right,
woman abuse, whatever you want
Well,
to
let's
call
see.
it.
There was I listened.
Domestic abuse.
I listened to another podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they were talking about that. And he has an interview on another podcast about the discrepancies in that storyline with the whole lawsuit and going to jail with the whole Charlotte Flair issues and everything.
There was another girl too.
Right, but I hear he's a big guy.
Yeah, I enjoyed what he did in Impact, but I mean,
but from what his stories were and everything is the understanding of the two countries. I guess he's from overseas, and I guess he was drunk in public here in the States and bumped up against a police officer or whatever, so they got him for assaulting an officer.
Oh, really?
But he said he was drunk, and the way the other podcast was saying it is, can you imagine you got a guy who's like 6'5",
right,
that big,
right,
and he bumps up against you,
right? I was just gonna say that
and
might sound like nothing when you were talking about it right now,
right? But the average cop, who's probably like 5'10", 6'1", that's still a big dude, and he's drunk, so you don't know where he's going with that, so you kind of have to react accordingly.
Exactly.
But the guy also has a long history of using and abusing drugs and alcohol, and he's come out about that. It's no stranger to it. And I listened to Charlotte on Lillian Garcia's podcast, and she did an in-depth interview, and she was talking about, because I guess they were married at one point.
Yeah.
And she said she was very reliable on him, and I guess it was a very unhealthy relationship. And she takes some of the blame, too. She can't put it all on him. Other newsworthy topics, Chris Jericho coming out and doing this kayfabe, long-winded work with
Kenny Omega.
But everybody saw the writing on the wall. They knew where this was going. Jericho, one thing he does not lack is creativity and the ability to promote. While the guy's promoting a song for his band, he's also talking about his cruise that's coming out, Return to Wrestling. I mean, this guy's literally got his hand in everything.
Right, which is actually kind of cool.
Which would not surprise me if we see Kenny Omega on the cruise, the Rock and Wrestling Rager, that takes place in October, which I want to get tickets to. That would be kind of cool to go to.
That would be.
For those that don't know about it, the Rockland Wrestling Ranger is... almost sounds like that's a tongue twister. It's happening October 27th through the 31st in Florida. They're going from the port of Florida in southern Florida to the Bahamas. It's a 4-night, 3-day... I don't know how that works. That math doesn't compute.
3 days, 4 nights.
Right. It's a cruise that's going to include a bunch of...
4 days, 3 nights.
C-listers when it comes to bands and everything. Fozzie's going to be probably the headliner. But Jericho was able to lock in the roster for a Ring of Honor because they're actually going to put a wrestling ring on the cruise. He's going to have a lot of comedians and everything.
Like Jim Ross is supposed to be there, I think.
Yeah, a lot of notable names. You're going to have Mick Foley, Jim Ross, Lawler, DDP, Conan, Disco Inferno, all the podcasters from Keeping It 100, all the podcasters from the Jericho Network. So like Cyrus and Storm from I can't think of the name of the podcast right now. Anyway, I want to go to it because if you get groups of 2 and 3, tickets are only like $500-$600.
Right.
And that's for a small little cabin, but honestly, how much of the percentage are you going to be inside your room anyway?
Instead of sleep.
But it's neat because they're going to have this interactive where all these wrestlers and stuff are going to be walking around the cruise, which I wonder if they have like a designated area that's roped off so that you can't go to. Jericho says it's open, that you're going to run into these wrestlers all the time. But just like I know, any famous person doesn't want to be approached all the time, especially when they're on vacation. But he says all-inclusive, so if you want autographs, you go to like a Comic-Con or whatever, and you're paying $50 an autograph, where you just walk up to Mick Foley and say, hey, can you sign this? You can even catch a comedy show.
I got his book. I can get it autographed.
But it would be really cool to go to that.
It's like the Bruise Cruise all over again.
Yeah, except that's what Jericho says too. The only thing that sets this apart is that there is a physical wrestling ring that's going to be put on the show.
Yeah, okay. Probably.
Which is going to be the Sea of Honor tournament. So winner of this tournament gets a title shot for Ring of Honor, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So anything else notable that happened in wrestling before we jump into the meat and potatoes?
One more thing.
Taters.
I'm sure everybody's heard by now. David Otunga.
This is news to me.
Oh, you know how he's with Jennifer Hudson chick?
Yep.
Well, they have a child together. But I guess they're having problems, whatever, and she filed a restraining order against him. So I don't know where it's going to go, but it doesn't sound too good. But I don't know, there was some rumor, or not rumor, but I guess she had said that he grabbed their son and pushed her out of the way or something like that, but he denies it. So I don't know. I don't want to spread rumors, but
You just did.
I know, but this
is recorded.
I mean, I don't want to spread rumors that may not be true, but the whole thing with the
You just did.
No, this is true. The restraining order and all that.
Speaking of newsworthy storylines and stuff, a lot of these celebrities being brought to the forefront on rape and sexual assault, and latest with
everybody. Kevin Spacey.
What's the comedian? I can't think of his name. Louis C.K. Which is funny because with Louis C.K. he outright admitted to what he was doing. Which I need to ask you as an opinion from a guy to another guy. There were a lot of allegations that... have you listened to any of Louis C.K.'s stand-up, first of all? Have you watched any of his shows?
I watched the show that he had on, what was it, HBO or Showtime or something?
What's one of the things he's known for in his shows, other than cursing? He's very upfront about sexual and masturbation and everything, right? Well, there's been allegations that on multiple occasions, a lot of the female talent, whether they be part of his production crew or other comedians that he worked with, have come out to the forefront and said that he's requested to masturbate in front of them or masturbate on the phone while talking to them. Now, he lost his he had a movie that was already completed and they were going to air it. That movie's been pulled. He lost his comedy shows on Netflix, and he's lost any upcoming jobs that he's had. Do you find him in the wrong?
Yes.
Why? No, I mean,
you can't just go around saying shit like that. Oh, can I masturbate in front of you?
You can't, but at the same time, he's asking. He's not just doing it.
Do you mind if I bend you over and fuck you in the ass? I mean, come on, you don't. It's not. No, that's not right. I'm sorry.
I'm
not sorry, but it's not right.
I mean, not only is he asking, but if he's turned down, he leaves it alone. And second of all, he openly admitted to it, and he doesn't hide it in his shows. He jokes about it all the time in his shows. I've watched every Louis C.K. special there's been, and that is a common thread in a lot of his shows.
So you think it's okay?
I don't think that it's justified, but I don't think he should lose any work for it. Because he's not... It's like Ric Flair. If you came up to Ric Flair and there was allegations that he was a womanizer or that he was an alcoholic, you think he's going to deny it? Is he wrong for denying it? Or for admitting to it?
No, I'm not saying he's wrong for admitting to it.
He's not
wrong.
He's not having a sexual act with anybody.
Right.
It's himself, first of all. Second of all, they're not minors. And third of all, he's asking for consent.
You mind if I pull it out and beat off in front of you? I mean, it's just not right.
I guess one lady, I don't know if it's actual true, here we go spreading rumors again, but she said that he asked her, and when she told him no, it sounded...
Oh, come on.
No, one other podcast said it sounded like he was stirring macaroni and cheese with a spoon. You just hear... It's a horrible visual.
This has nothing to do with wrestling.
I honestly don't even know where I was going with... Oh, no, I do now. Are you surprised as much as I am that this hasn't come out, that any wrestlers...
I'll never eat macaroni and cheese the same way again. Not what?
Does it surprise you that there hasn't been allegations with wrestlers doing this over the years? I mean, there's been slight ones here and there, where wrestlers were supposedly abusing and sexually assaulting the ring crew, and
That's all in good fun.
Right, a case here and there, but
yeah, it's good. Well, let's put it that way. Yeah.
And do you think that we're going to see that all happen?
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Well, if you listen to the What Happened When Tony Schiavone podcast, there's actually quite a bit of talk about stuff like that. Like,
we talk about a lot of other people's podcasts.
So
me, the biggest offender. But okay, so what happened when?
Well, they talk about Hulk Hogan, how he opened up those Pastamania restaurant in Minneapolis, where the Mall of America.
Yeah.
Well, there was rumors that I don't know if it's rumors really or just that Conrad guy making shit up, or starting shit. But he was saying that. Do you think he was banging this chick so he can get his restaurant in the mall, and 2, so they can have the Nitro there, just making all these, so very convenient things, but you never know. Shit, unless you're there, you really don't know.
All right, well, let's jump to a quick break and listen to a word from our affiliates, the No Gimmicks podcast with Todd Smith, and then we'll jump right into the happenings that have happened recently on Raw and SmackDown that's leading to this pay-per-view card.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here from the No Gimmicks podcast. Tune in weekly as my tag team partner Dale Clifford and I provide you with recaps, predictions, unboxings, and interviews with some of the hottest names in professional wrestling today. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at the No Gimmicks PC, and like our Facebook page. You can visit us at www.youtube.com/the No Gimmicks podcast. And remember, we are no gimmicks, no image, all wrestling, all the time.
And we are back. Thank you once again to Todd Smith and Dale Clifford at the No Gimmicks podcast for giving a shout out to our show and for their podcast itself. Great podcast for those that want to listen. You can check them out on YouTube at the No Gimmicks podcast. You can also find them on Facebook. If you want to message him directly, you can also contact Todd Smith. God, screwing up my lines. I'm live. Okay, so before we jump into the pay-per-view, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks to actually make this pay-per-view what was going to be kind of a bland pay-per-view to an actually pretty decent card.
Yeah, definitely.
We will start with your angle that took place on Monday Night Raw about 3 weeks to a month ago, give or take.
The SmackDown invasion of Raw?
Yes, you give me what you thought was great about it. Then I will do my part to shit on it. And then we'll fast forward 3 weeks, and I'll tell you what I thought was great about SmackDown, and then you can shit all over it.
Okay, first of all, when it was happening, I was like a little fucking kid. I was like, oh shit, it's happening. It was like NWO all over again, something like that. It just got me all giddy. Anyway, jeez, I just liked it. It just brought everything back that was cool of the older days. I'm trying. It's been like a month.
It feels like forever.
So I'm trying to think.
I'm honestly trying to remember what happened. But that's also a good indicator that it wasn't that great if we can't remember what happened. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, that's great. I got text message while we're doing this.
It wasn't perfect. It could have been better, but for what it was, I enjoyed it.
You should have saw the look on your face when my phone went off. You looked so scared.
That? Where's that coming from?
It was wrestling related. It was.
You just made the list.
Chris Jericho saying you just made the list.
What didn't you like about it?
The fact that they didn't bring their A players. It was all like the.
Okay. Yes.
The fact that New Day led the regime, and New Day is supposed to be the babyface over on SmackDown, and they are supposed to be badass heels to lead this invasion on SmackDown.
To me, that point, honestly, it doesn't make a difference.
Right, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll say that, they are a unified front, and
right.
They're doing it for that was my other gripe, was the fact that you had people like Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode
next to each other or whatever.
Yeah, and then you have someone like Shinsuke Nakamura, who has given no indication that he's a heel whatsoever, attacking. And it's just like you went from building these characters up as babyfaces and heels and just making everybody an immediate heel with no backstory.
And to that I say, it was like you know, to get over what you're saying, not to get it over, but to get over it, to understand it, it made you think like, okay, this is a SmackDown team. They're, you know, they want to prove their dominance. Everybody put their shit aside for this one event.
Right, which I can get, but that is where they dropped the ball. They could have built to that.
But then it wouldn't have come as a surprise as far as...
If you did it the right way, I mean, like, for example, I know it's not going to be a surprise, but if we have a Shane versus Daniel Bryan, we kind of had an indicator that it was going to happen because of the way that they're interacting with one another. But there's no exact, like... I mean,
why would he go against Daniel Bryan?
For the fact that he had to...
But they're on the same team.
Right, but he had to kind of vouch for him by going over to Raw to try to smooth things over, and he got his ass kicked.
That's Daniel Bryan being a pussy.
My point being, my point being is that you could have did a slow build to give some shadow of doubt that there could be something going to be happening. Like, did you have any belief at all that Raw wasn't going to attack SmackDown on this?
No, I knew they were. It was just a matter of time.
Right, because they skipped the last 2 weeks.
Right, and you know that this was the week they were going to do it because Survivor Series is the following.
Now, if that wasn't the case, if they would have attacked after, you know, after this is all done and over with, 3 weeks later,
it wouldn't make sense.
Why not?
What would the point be? Just to
continue
payback?
Just to continue the feud.
Oh, but we can't have this continue this feud till next year.
My point being is there could have been a slow build to this, and the fact that it just happened, nobody knew why it was happening.
What you know what I just thought they should have done was
every time you do that, I hear that.
What they should have done was like have them try to get in the building but not be able to, and then do an attack. You know, like on another episode.
Right. But the fact that, you know, we had this attack, and the only precursor that we had was Shane saying #under siege.
Well, but to me, I didn't. To me, with everybody doing the whole Twitter thing, the Emma,
that weak
hashtag,
that
blah,
weak
blah,
sauce doing the Twitter.
It was like it made sense to me. I mean, it's just another.
Emma didn't do #under siege. She's on.
No, I'm not saying under siege, but the hashtag thing.
Right. Well, that's what WWE looks at now, is that the social media presence
it's not TV ratings anymore.
Right. They don't care about the TV ratings because the social media status is what promotes the show long term. And that's the sadness of the era that we live in now, is everything is media based. Social media based, I should say.
I can definitely tell you what I didn't like about Raw, the Raw invasion of SmackDown.
Okay, let's hear it.
Number one, it was not all, but it was more Shield based. You know, the Shield, they were always standing on top. They were, you know, they never like went down really.
And the response to that is the Shield's supposed to have that aura, that feel that they are the big brothers of the company. So
okay, another one. Braun just punches Mojo and Zach, and they're down for the rest of the whole attack.
They're C Carters.
No, I know, but still.
And Braun's Braun. No, I get it. I mean, I can tell you what I didn't like about it. The fact that
they hit the music.
Yeah, that was the thing that happened on Raw too.
But not on the attack one.
Right, but
when the New Day
that was how it was. Well, Shane's music technically did.
But he was. But see, the thing with Shane though. I mean, okay, you could say this
before we get too far off base. For those that are listening, the biggest gripe that Salvo and I both caught was when New Day showed up on Raw and when the Shield showed up on SmackDown. Both people's music played.
If it was supposed to be a surprise, attacked or whatever,
so
how would their music?
Why would the truck know to play their music? That was the big gripe.
Right.
The other gripe that I had on SmackDown was the fact that Kurt Angle and Braun Strowman came out of the locker room.
Right.
Which, you know, some can argue and say that they were back there attacking other people and then came out.
No, they were. I doubt it, but anyway.
I like the SmackDown angle better, but now that I'm thinking about it, I can find a lot more faults. Like, for example, The fact that Shield was walking down those stairs, the 1,000-stair march, that whole time, SmackDown roster didn't need to come outside to help out. Like, it doesn't take 10 seconds.
Right.
It doesn't take 10 seconds to walk from the third row or the fifth row balcony all the way down to the bottom of the floor.
And I don't know if it was planned or not, but it looked like there was a timing error as far as the Usos coming out. I don't know if it was supposed to be that way because they came into the ring and Roman Reigns was like in their face.
Which was actually kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know if that was supposed to be that because right after that, the bar came out.
Right. And
so I don't know if somebody missed their timing.
Things like that are why I like this angle better, because you had interactions of things that we haven't seen yet, but things that give you that perception of possibility. Like the fact that you see Roman Reigns standing face to face with his cousins, but no actual.
It was just like a split second. Yeah.
Right. Just to put that image in your head that, the possibility is there. Now, I listened to Vince Russo, and he, for all the shit that he has done wrong, he had a great take that when we had Kurt Angle in Shane's face and attacking him and everything, gave him the Olympic slam, Triple H's music should have hit. And Triple H should have been standing on the ramp and just kind of gave a look, shook his head a little bit, and then walked off. And that's how they should have ended the show. To let you know that Triple H is really the man orchestrating the whole thing and that Raw is the bigger brand. It would have had more impact.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Just to you hear, and everyone goes like, Triple H.
But then you should have heard, dun 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 dun.
Just so you guys know, he's smiling while he's singing the song. It's just like he's like Kurt Angle coming out in the shield vest, just like that. I
was trying to remember how it went at the very beginning.
He's like that dad that's really happy to spend time with his son, with all of his friends and everything. He's just smiling ear to ear. Yeah. All right.
But one more thing, as far as the Raw invasion of SmackDown, was the women. Okay, the women, which was done well when they went into the locker room and attacked the other women, the SmackDown women. But then they disappeared for 8 minutes, and you see them at the end out, doing their little huddle goodbye.
They're all out back there talking about makeup and glitter. And
like, girl, I broke my nail.
Oh no, I was going to say there's a lot that has to happen this pay-per-view to save the women's division, because it is a downward spiral.
It's almost too thin since they split it up.
That's just it too. It's not that it's thin, it's that they don't build characters anymore. Every interaction now is someone upset about something, someone else thinking that they're entitled. Now we have a 3-on-3, we have a 4-on-4, we have a 5-on-5. It's never 1-on-1 anymore.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a breath of fresh air to see Natalya versus Charlotte, because it was an actual match. But we're also going to see that potentially get squashed again this weekend. And we'll go into detail over the card. There's a lot of cogs and gears and other clock parts that are part of this equation that's going to alter how the pay-per-view goes. And for those that are, obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you've been following wrestling a little bit. There were some major changes to the roster. We had Jinder Mahal being replaced by AJ Styles, and we've had Natalya being replaced by Charlotte. And
because they both lost their titles.
Right. So before we jump into that, let's go ahead and look at the card and see what we've got for this upcoming Survivor Series. Wow.
Survivor Series.
Botchamania. Which takes place in Houston, Texas. The stomping grounds of one Booker T, Stevie Ray, and a couple other names, I'm sure.
Well, actual city-wise?
Yeah.
I don't know what cities, but... Okay.
So starting with is it going to be a 2-hour pre-show?
I didn't see any information on that. I don't know.
Can you pull up the start time to see? While you're doing that, I'll talk to the people here.
Starts at 7.
So is it a 3-hour difference or 2-hour difference? 4 o'clock?
3.
3 o'clock?
Wait, that's in Texas, you
yeah.
said?
I don't know how. I know normally it's a 3-hour difference. So if that's the case, it's a 2-hour pre-show. That's a long... I mean, you know what? Now looking at it, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania,
it should be a
and SummerSlam were 2 hours. They were a 2-hour pre-show. So yeah, we're looking at a 2-hour pre-show.
Another 5-hour day.
So are there enough matches on there that equal a 2-hour pre-show potentially?
No, it just shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches.
Because you know that the Enzo versus Kalisto is going to be on the pre-show.
It is or not?
I'm sure it will be.
Okay, well that's one of them. Yeah.
And then you're going to have an hour of them talking and doing backstage interviews and Twitter reactions and yada yada yada. So yeah, I can see a 2-hour show, a pre-show. But let's jump into the why am I drawing a blank? Enzo Amore versus Kalisto.
That's right.
What are your takes? What do you think of this match? Are you interested in seeing it? This being the second, third time now we've seen this match. I think it's the third. Because they're right now 50-50 booking, right?
So Enzo's, I don't know.
Well, Kalisto won it, and then Enzo won it back. So now we're back at...
Okay, right, yeah.
So the best of 3 series.
I'm thinking probably Enzo's going to win it. Probably just to keep his, all his hype going.
He has to win it because hot-shotting the belt like that is already losing the credibility.
Right. Cruiserweights already have a challenge,
Although this whole adding Enzo to the 205 Live has actually established some characters now because Drew Gulak is getting over.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to watch his PowerPoint presentation?
I didn't see that part, no.
Oh, the guy's hilarious. He
on 205 or
yeah,
not on Raw. Right?
When we hop off here, I'll have you check it out. It's actually pretty funny. I say Enzo, but the question remains is who's he going to face after this?
Right, exactly.
Are we going to see the debut of like Rockstar Spud, or are we going to see? There's also talks of Hideo Itami potentially showing up, and
that'd be pretty cool.
Actually, I think it would be cool if he shows up at Survivor Series because it's one of the big 4 pay-per-views, and Hideo Itami has not been seen on TV in a while.
Right.
So I think he brings a new element, which he'd make a hell of a champion, too. For those that don't know, or that know him outside, it's Kenta. Not Kuta Kinte. Kenta.
I thought that was the Shark, John Kenta.
That's John Tenta, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kidding.
That was a reach.
we got the women's Survivor Series match. Lisa Fox, Nia Jax, Asuka, Sasha Banks, Bayley against the SmackDown team of Becky Lynch, Charlotte. Well, actually, Charlotte's no longer in it.
Right.
Naomi, Carmella, Tamina Snuka,
and the mystery opponent. Okay, so not knowing the mystery partner or opponent, right off the bat, I automatically say Raw gets this one and think Asuka's going to be the last competitor in the ring because Asuka has not lost a match. Pinfall, submission. I don't know if she's been disqualified before. I'm pretty sure she has. Someone's telling me that she's never lost a match, period. So with that said, you have to assume Raw's getting over. However, if we have the mystery opponent being one of 3 people, I can see this kind of altering the card. So there's rumors that Paige, who was originally supposed to be scheduled for Monday Night Raw, had some backstage heat because she posted pictures on her Instagram and Twitter
of being at Raw,
being at the arena. And so pictures surfaced, and that didn't bode well with her surprise return. So there's a chance that she may show up on SmackDown. However, the Raw roster desperately needs more star power. So
the Raw one or the SmackDown one?
Raw one. You don't think so? You think Bayley and Sasha really drive that division? I mean, look at Raw's roster. Look at SmackDown's roster. I like Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Carmella's actually not a bad wrestler either.
I don't think Naomi's that bad. I think Tamina is more the weaker link. They haven't really done too much with Tamina.
Right, but if you look at it, SmackDown actually does have a stronger women's roster.
I think going back to Raw, I think Mickie James should have won that 3-way match.
But looking at SmackDown also, they have more leeway because Raw's backed himself in the corner with people like Asuka, where she can't lose a match. So anyone that you put her against is going to get buried.
Yeah, but the losing of the match bit, does this still count in that, are we looking into it too much?
Well, here's the other thing.
There's 5 people.
Here's the other thing I was telling you off the air. There was rumored that WWE was going to do a Superstar Shakeup. What if this pay-per-view is the Superstar Shakeup? What if that 5th member just happens to be Mickie James? She crosses over because she was upset the fact that she's not getting the recognition on Raw. Or maybe Daniel.
That would be cool too.
Maybe when Daniel Bryan was there, he approached her. There's ways to build the storyline
before he got chokeslammed.
Right. But there's also rumor.
I don't mean to cut you off, but when he was getting chokeslammed, did you hear him like?
Yeah.
It's like serious that much.
The other rumor is that Nikki Bella may be making her return. With that said, we may see the final 2 people left in the ring being Nikki Bella versus Asuka the final 3: Nikki Bella versus Asuka and Nia Jax, and that's where the whole fearless gimmick comes in. And she was fearless, and she took on both competitors. Raw still wins, but Nikki was kind of like there in the forefront to take over the match.
Never thought of that.
And then the other third rumored wrestler, who's been rumored to be around, is Taker's wife.
Yeah, there has been some tweets going with Charlotte and Michelle McCool.
I don't know the history between Charlotte and Michelle, so can you enlighten me?
There's really no history. I mean, just somebody Charlotte would love to compete against. And
I think I'd like to see them compete against each other because it's something new. Like, we've kind of seen everybody
go against each other.
Which, have we seen Charlotte go against Alexa Bliss at any point?
No.
Which is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think Charlotte would take it, but I think Bliss being the smaller of the two, she looks like the underdog, but she's always got something up her sleeve, whether it's her screwed up elbow thing or
here's
something.
Here's a couple things to look at. One, it's a Raw star, one of their standouts. So does Raw give the rub simply because they have to show that they're the dominant team? 2, Charlotte just won the championship. So do you have her lose already, even though it's a non-title match? It makes her look weak. And 3, there's going to have to be some kind of balance between, Raw winning so many matches, SmackDown winning so many matches.
Right.
So looking at all these, and 4, is it going to be a false finish, of a bullshit win? Or are we going to see a legitimate match that ends with a pinfall?
Maybe Ellsworth's last...
What if he really isn't fired? What if that was
his last shindig,
Yeah. Also, Carmella has that potential of cashing in the title. Or cashing in the Money in the Bank.
What if she cashes in on Alexa Bliss?
That's what I'm saying, the Superstar Shakeup. This is where all these things are potential.
One thing's for sure. Those questions and many more will be answered on Sunday.
Because, this is the first time that Raw and SmackDown has competed.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Except for the invasion.
Yeah, except for the invasion.
And the other invasion.
And except for the Payback and TLC and the night after TLC and the whole European tour. So, yeah. But, yeah, I already had someone, jump on me on that But which is fine, because it is funny. There was roles that had to be filled, and I get it, but it's just they drilled that into our head so many fucking times. I don't know how many times I heard it in an hour span.
Yeah, it's just like, this is the first time Kurt Angle has wrestled in 11 years.
Even the fact at the point where Jason Jordan was whining, saying that he deserves a spot on this, he's like, but... I lived my whole life to do this, and this is the first time that Monday Night Raw and SmackDown competed. Really, you're going to add that into your promo? Come on, dude. So your pick, Charlotte or Bliss?
Well, wait. It's not a Charlotte versus or Bliss. It's Team SmackDown or Team Raw.
I'm going for the actual match. Who do you got?
I gotta go with my girl Charlotte, man. I think she's the most dominant one.
I think we are
all around. I haven't really seen too much of Asuka, so I can't really, I don't know too much on her. But I'm going Charlotte.
And I'm
Team
gonna
SmackDown.
go with you on that one, because if in fact Paige is coming back, and in fact that
Paige, I mean, she really is a good wrestler.
right,
Paige.
if Paige and Nikki Bella in fact are both coming back, then I can see Charlotte winning this match, and Bliss is going to be kind of out of it because she's going to put the figure 8 on her, and then you're going to see Carmella come in and put the Code of Silence and cash in, which that might draw some controversy because it's never been specified whether it can be cashed cross promotional.
It's just like that. Never been specified about the Money in the Bank,
So there
taking it
might
down.
be some controversy. She'll technically win, but they might not actually give her the belt. And then we'll have some like Night of Champions thing where it's going to be Carmella versus Bliss, and now Carmella's going to be on Raw. And now you got that Money in the Bank thing on Raw. I don't know. There's just so many possibilities.
Right. I
But-
mean, come on. There's 5 freaking people in this match.
But I'm going to go with the... No, oh wait. No, we're talking about the Charlotte versus...
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like...
I keep looking at the notes. It says Charlotte. Okay, I'm not.
That's why I'm trying to look at you.
Right,
I'm like, why are you
right,
saying it's a
right,
Team
right.
Raw, Team SmackDown? I'm like, no, it's a match.
Right. I just wasn't adding up. Sorry.
That's what you get for looking at old Wikipedia.
Shit. I'm gonna go Team Raw.
I like the fact that you were confused the whole damn
Yeah.
time. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
There's no-
That was a work.
You just did it again. You said I'm going to go Team Raw. It's not Team Raw. It's Charlotte versus Bliss.
So we're not talking about the 5-on-5.
Oh, did I jump ahead?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh shit! No, I thought we did.
That's up here.
Oh, you're right.
Her name's
Oh.
twice.
Damn! Now it's a work that I was off the whole time. Because you mentioned Charlotte. That's what confused me.
Because it says Charlotte on the notes.
Right. Okay. No, I did touch on this one. I said that. Dude, you did jump to Alexa Bliss because I said that it was going to be Nikki Bella and she's going to be in the ring with Asuka and Nia Jax at the end of this, and that I was going to pick Team Raw. We did jump.
And
to.
I said Charlotte.
Yeah, we
But
did jump.
Charlotte's not.
I don't know why you jumped, but you did jump too.
Now I'm going to. Okay, for the Women's Survivor Series match, I'm going Team Raw.
Okay, and I'm going to go Team Raw also.
Moving on.
Wow, that was a headache. I apologize for anyone still listening to this point because
We've had some interruptions.
we had to
too,
stop the
so
show
we
on
had to
multiple
pause.
occasions. So if you couldn't tell that we paused the show, kudos. If you did, then you understand that when you lose track of where you're at, you kind of lose track of where you're at.
Unexpected.
Oh, you're
interruptions.
right. That is where we got lost on this tangent because I talked about who the 5th member was going to be. We got on to Michelle McCool, which
Right.
was supposed to be Michelle McCool versus Charlotte,
Right.
potentially. And then I just started talking about Charlotte.
And I was thinking Bliss was in the match for some reason. But
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on track.
you can tell what that break kind of we got ring rust.
Yeah, okay. So now let's jump to the Usos versus the Bar. So take into consideration at this point, we've already had the... Wait, what direction are we going? Did I jump again?
Well, we jumped over the Survivor Series men.
Okay, so at this point, we have potentially Team Raw up 1 point. So now we have the men's Raw versus SmackDown. Kurt Angle, Triple H, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Samoa Joe versus Shane, John Cena, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Bobby Roode. On paper, me personally,
Raw seems
dominant.
dominant.
Wow. Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna go SmackDown for some reason because they're the underdog and just because the Raw team seems so dominant. I think it's a swerve.
well, here it is. Looking at the names, if you look at talent-wise,
Right. SmackDown.
consistency and talent-wise, SmackDown's got the better
Shane is the weak link.
roster. Right. If you had to put them in your top 5, like in order, weakest to strongest, I would go Shane, Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, Shinsuke, John Cena. When it comes to ring performance and, skill. And it's not really a knock on Bobby Roode. His charisma and everything is just not there. It just doesn't translate to SmackDown. But this is one of those tricky cards because there are so many wild cards on both of these. Looking at the Raw side alone, Kurt Angle and Triple H have some unsettled business after what happened on Raw. Don't be surprised if we see Jason Jordan interfere somehow in this match. Braun Strowman pretty much hates the world, so
right, he doesn't really have loyalty to anybody.
And then you got Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, who just recently are coming off of a feud that still, boils there. You jump over to the SmackDown side, and there really isn't anybody on this team that have beef against each other. However, you've got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn that are anti-SmackDown right now and have a grudge really against everybody on this card. If you think about it.
Right.
They got beef with Shane McMahon. They got beef with Randy Orton. They have beef with Shinsuke Nakamura. The only two that don't play a factor are Bobby Roode and John Cena. So this can also be a swerve where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn cost them the match. So looking at that, taking all things in consideration and perspective, who do you think pulls off the victory here? You said Team SmackDown?
Yes.
I have to agree. I think John Cena is going to be the hero in this match.
Right. And it's like, okay, you got the biggest, baddest dude, Braun Strowman. Okay, well, you figure it's kind of like a process of elimination. Not that I'm correct at it, but Cena will take out Braun. Orton can take out Triple H.
But what you can see here too is,
if you match them one-on-one, I'm just trying to get compatible.
Surprisingly enough, John Cena could be one of the weaker links, and Shinsuke be the one that wins it over, and that's what gives him the rub. That gives him that push to show that he's actually. I just know there's going to be a lot of interaction between Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Shane McMahon.
Probably, yeah.
So again, Team SmackDown on this one. So we're looking at the card now. It's 1-1. Jumping into the next match, The Bar versus the Usos. Now, initially looking at this, it was supposed to be The Shield.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus the Usos, which wasn't a bad matchup, but you knew right off the bat that you had two baby faces. Or no, sorry. One baby face, one heel. But the Shield is supposed to be this unstoppable force, so you already knew right off the bat that the Shield was going to win that. Which does nothing for the Usos. Like, the Shield can actually afford a loss and it not be a big deal. Now, the tricky part is you have heels versus heels. The Bar versus the Usos.
I like to see heels versus heels. I don't have a problem with it.
I like loafers versus loafers.
Lovers?
Loafers.
Loafers.
Yeah. You like heels?
They said lovers versus lovers.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
No.
But on this one, I think I'm going to go The Bar.
I think it's going to be a hell of a match, and
yeah.
I think the Usos are going to pull this one out. I think we're going to have a 50-50 booking here again, so it's going to go SmackDown Raw type thing. I think the Usos have a lot more to prove, where The Bar, they're
two individuals thrown together.
I don't think they're going to be together much longer either. I think they can honestly flow solos. And there's also the talk that the Revival's coming back, so...
Speaking of talk, I don't mean to go off subject, but I read something where maybe, I don't know if it's too late or not, but the Broken Awoken Matt Hardy may be coming out around December. Well, shit, that's next month, huh?
Yeah, that's actually like 2 weeks away.
Yeah. So, that'd be kind of cool.
That's another thing we have to talk about after the card, the fact that WWE's overseas India tour has been kind of smooshed down to a one-day event. But we'll continue on the card and we'll jump into that afterward because there's also some more information on Impact Wrestling that I want to touch on. The next match, The Miz, Intercontinental Champion versus Baron Corbin, the United States Champion. Looking at this, heel versus heel, The Miz is going to be the babyface in this one because everyone's going to be cheering for The Miz. I really don't want to see this match.
On paper, it doesn't look that great. In person, it might not be that great either. I'm going to go with The Miz. Every time we have a match with Baron Corbin, we always say it's Corbin's time, and he always goes down. So I'm going with The Miz.
Do you think we'll see the Miztourage band from ringside, or do you think they'll actually be...
They'll probably play a part.
Yeah, I see The Miz going over because they're... I mean, if you're going to build The Miz to be something bigger on the Raw brand, even if it comes back over to SmackDown, you can't bury him against someone like Baron Corbin.
I mean, the Corbin, he's still young in his future. It's like he can take a loss. It's not going to kill him. Where The Miz, I mean, he's been there for how long? 12 years, 15 years, whatever it is.
Yeah. And see, that's the other thing, too, is that you can have Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn interfere in this match, too.
Right.
I mean, they have that because they're not on the card.
What if they, interfere in every match?
I was thinking about that, first match.
The final.
What if you had Kevin Owens interfere one match, you had Sami Zayn interfere the other, and then you have them both together interfere?
Everybody would be so fucking pissed.
Where's Rusev on this card, man?
I know, they're just wasting him. Shit.
There's a lot of people that they could be using, that they could be putting on the card that, unless they're on the pre-show.
Rusev Day rules.
I like Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day. So we've already touched on this one a little bit because we got confused.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair, where I started going on my tangent about Carmella coming out. So now you have... let's look at this. You had Raw, SmackDown, potentially either one, Raw or SmackDown, and then Raw. So is this Charlotte Flair you said?
I'm going Charlotte.
I say Charlotte Flair also with the interference of Carmella to cash in the Money in the Bank.
Why am I going Charlotte? Well, for one reason, she just won the title. When looking at it deeply, it's if she's going to lose it, there was really no reason for her to win the title.
Think of how incredible that would be, the controversy of Carmella cashing in on
that'd be great.
the opposite
on
brand.
Bliss, yeah.
Because it's already that there was controversy on how she won it. Then
when is Money in the Bank? What month?
It was after WrestleMania, so it was April, May, somewhere around there. But there's controversy on how she won it. Then she had to fight again, and she won it. Now, why not add some more storyline in there? Make it a big build, big show. So you might as well do it. I mean, there's no time like the present. Okay, so again, I kind of lost place where we're at. I know we were talking about Carmella cashing in and the controversy that can go behind it, and I think it'd be great. It gives that spice that WWE needs, especially being a big show. So yeah, again, Charlotte wins it. I think Alexa Bliss gets cashed in on, and that just shuffles up the roster for Monday Night Raw the following day.
Sounds like it'd be kind of cool if it went down that way, yeah.
All right, so now we have the people in the forefront, the people that led the brigade, the siege, the Under Siege, the 94 Steven Seagal movie. The New Day, who ironically are babyfaces but are coming off as assholes by costing the Shield their belts, their titles.
No, that's the best thing that it could happen. I don't like the Shield anymore.
Versus the Shield. And I think I said on last episode, which was a month ago, that I'm kind of over the Shield already.
It's almost like a Roman Reigns thing, being pushed. Not that I got a problem with Roman, but it's almost just like getting shoved in my face, personally.
Speaking of Roman Reigns, did you hear that reception he got when he came out?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I did, and it was just like, oh, now everybody loves him because he's in the Shield.
I think honestly, that's what he needed to get over again. And maybe it's amnesia. Maybe we got that goldfish memory. That
could be. You think it could be just the arena, the area? I don't remember.
I think he's going to continue to get this reaction. But the second they break up again, I give it a month for it to sink in, and he'll be shoved back down our throats, and we'll continue to hate him. Although, I said it.
I don't have a problem with him.
I'm a Roman Reigns guy, and you were like, you never said that. And
no, it just shocked me. Not shocked me, like, oh my God.
I liked Roman Reigns because, and it's going to come off very fanboy, but when he came out with the Shield on Monday, when he popped up behind them after being sick and everything,
right?
I got goosebumps. I was like, this is actually pretty cool. I got the same reaction when Braun Strowman came out.
Did you get a boner?
No. A wrestling boner?
Yeah. See, I got a wrestling boner when SmackDown invaded Raw.
That's sad. That you went half chub, or did you go full chub?
I think I had some leakage too.
No. Age.
No, but see, another thing. Another thing, I didn't know anything about the SmackDown invasion of Raw, but I saw the headlines of a spoiler thingy saying Raw was invading SmackDown, so that kind of ruined it for me.
See, it's a double-edged sword for me because when I get home from work every day, I hop onto YouTube and I listen to a thing called Wrestle Talk News with Ollie Davis, and they give us, you know, potential, not spoilers, but potential newsworthy things that come out, like the fact that a lot of these rumors with Paige and whatnot. But I look for that stuff. But then when I find it, I get pissed off when it actually happens. So it's like I want to know, but I don't want to know.
Right.
And that's the problem with information and on the internet. Everything is so at hand that you can easily access it.
That was the thing with me. I don't know. Raw was on. No, wait. SmackDown was on. And I'm just, you know, something's going on, whether it's a commercial or just not interested in the match, and I jump onto Facebook or something, and it's just like, the Raw invades SmackDown. It's like,
sometimes you can't remember to do that either, because there's times where I don't catch The Walking Dead at the early showing, and I hop on Facebook for something, and then someone posts something. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Right, exactly.
And you don't do it on purpose, but you find this on any social media outlet now.
Right.
So, I mean, you even got some of the wrestlers, some of the talent spoiling things, like Paige. That's why she was under some heat for. But I lost count of where we're at Raw versus SmackDown.
We're on the. You mean as far as the card? We're going.
No, I mean,
as far as
like who's got the most wins, Raw, the brand wise.
I think in my votes, I think SmackDown.
So on this one, I don't see the Shield losing.
Right.
And I think this
because they're being shoved in our faces again.
What would be really cool, and I'm probably going to get shit for this, some slack for this, is that it would be really cool if the New Day started having cracks in their group, and Big E went solo. And then
maybe now that Paige is coming back, she could be Xavier's valet.
That was the other talk too, is that Paige was rumored to be coming to the Raw brand. Do you think they would do that, knowing that Xavier Woods is on the Raw brand also? Oh, no, he's on the SmackDown. Oh, I said that backwards. There was rumor that Paige was supposed to be on the Raw brand and that they were going to put her as the 5th member on the SmackDown brand, but if they do that, he's going to be on the same.
Well, I don't know. Well, for this match, I'm going the Shield. Only because, like I said, they're the latest thing. And
yeah, I don't see WWE. I mean, they're supposed to be the face,
right?
The face group.
They're pushing them, but all right, whatever.
Well, this is it too, because they do everything in groups. Like Brock Lesnar's the face for Raw, and AJ Styles is the face for SmackDown. Shield's the face for the group based for Raw, but New Day, in my opinion, is not the face. I would think that it is going to be the Usos. Unless we're talking about groups of 3, then yeah, I get that. And then you look at tag teams, and that's the other way around. Which, if you look at it, these are the card set up for Survivor Series as the faces versus the faces. It's not even like top guys versus top guys. It's the people that are over. And Bobby Roode's over because of his entrance. Shinsuke's over because of his entrance. Randy Orton's over because of his history.
Same with Cena.
Yeah, Shane's over because they think he's the cool manager, even though Daniel Bryan would have been a better fit. But that brings us now, I guess, to the main event. AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, this is a hard one.
This is a hard one. And for those that are, again, following wrestling on the later side of the spectrum, we had AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal last week on SmackDown. Was it last week?
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. In Manchester, England. And first time that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship has switched hands overseas on a live taping. I mean, I've heard that it switched hands before, but this was on the live episode of SmackDown, with AJ getting the better push to go against Brock Lesnar because they thought it'd be better star power. Rumors were...
How do you feel about that being a
gender?
Yeah.
That's tricky because, it pisses me off that they spent the last 6 months on this guy, taking a guy who was potentially a mid-card jobber, giving him Rocket, strapping it on him, and give him that push for the last 6 months, whether it was to promote India or not. A lot of people believe that was the case. I don't really believe it was the case. I think it was something new that they wanted to give it a try. that Jinder had the look, and they figured that he had the potential. A lot would say he didn't live up to that potential, but at the same time, if you think about it, he fought 3 people.
I know, that was kind of stupid.
I mean, his 6-month reign, he fought Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura,
And AJ.
That was the only 3 people that got television time. So to say the guy wasn't that great, in his defense, there wasn't a lot for him to. But on the other side of the coin, I think this actually gives more of ammunition for Jinder to be better for a second run.
I don't have a problem if he gets a second run. I just don't think his first run was that great. I mean, I'm not like bashing him. I just don't think they.
Okay, who was his best match? AJ Styles, right?
Yeah.
I think that you can actually have a rubber match on this because Jinder is entitled to a rematch.
Right.
And I would not put it past WWE to make this a triple threat match at some point because there's nothing at stake. I don't know. But there was also rumors that Paul Heyman was the biggest advocate of why this card changed. That if you look at the promos, Jinder Mahal was buried by Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman...
But when whoever have been buried... any other opponent?
No, every other opponent he's built up. And that's simply because if you build a person up and they beat you, then you got beat by a good wrestler. If you build a person up and you beat them, it just makes you look stronger. Now, if you bury a guy and that guy beats you, then you got beat by a guy that you said was shit. But if you bury a guy that you said was shit and you beat him, then what was the big deal? You beat a guy that was shit. So the fact that Paul Heyman did that, it was his push to say that, you know what, I think that AJ Styles would be a better draw for Brock Lesnar. My person who was a better pick for this, my client, or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I think this might be a work. I think that Paul Heyman was downplaying Jinder Mahal because Jinder Mahal is going to be a Paul Heyman guy. And I think Jinder Mahal is going to play a big role in AJ losing this match. I mean, this can go both ways for me. I can see AJ winning simply because, why not? It's Brock Lesnar.
No, I know, but I don't know. I think Lesnar's like one of the fucking baddest dudes out there.
But this is the part that pisses me off, too. If AJ takes an F5 and kicks out, then you just completely fucked up Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe.
By one F5?
Yeah, because Braun Strowman got beat by one F5. Samoa Joe.
What did he take before that?
It doesn't matter.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Everybody else, if you watch any of these longer matches that go more than 12 minutes, every one of these matches, you get hit with like 6 or 7 of the person's finishers. John Cena versus Roman Reigns. That happened so many times. But AJ Styles is, 225? Brock Lesnar is, 290?
Okay.
Taking an F5 from him, Braun Strowman outweighing Brock Lesnar, outsizing him, takes a 1 F5 from him and is done. Samoa Joe, who's a damn good wrestler, takes 1 F5 and he's done. But AJ Styles can take 2 or 3. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And if they do that, they just ruined the mystique and the image of Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe.
But do you think the casual fan is aware of that?
No, and that's the other thing is that WWE doesn't. They don't give a shit. They really don't give a shit
because there's nobody around that can. They have the following behind them. They got the fans behind them.
So
nobody's coming close.
My thing is that Brock Lesnar wins clean against AJ Styles, but it's going to be a 15 to 20 minute match.
I think Brock will probably win it. I want to go AJ, but I think Brock will win it.
Brock's going to be tired because he's going to draw it 15, 20 minutes. But at the same time, the only move that AJ can do to him, well, 2, I guess, he can do the calf crusher or the phenomenal forearm, but he can't hit him with the Styles Clash. It's a big fucking dude. Can you imagine the irony though? Because Daniel Bryan said that you tapped out to a weak ass armbar, and then he puts the calf crusher on him to have him tap out to a UFC based type submission. There's also rumors that Daniel Bryan's going to be in AJ Styles' corner for this match which
really?
which might lead to a Daniel Bryan versus
Heyman.
the Walrus. No, Brock Lesnar, but I can't see that happening because he'd kill him.
I wouldn't want to sign up. I wouldn't want to sign up on that.
No, he'd kill him. I mean, that's concussions. Concussions.
It's just that power of Brock, and I mean, he can wrestle. Doesn't need to, but I don't know. That's going to be.
I think this is going to be a legitimate match.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to
be a good one. Yeah,
I can see him trying to hit AJ Styles with some suplexes. And
and
AJ doing backflips out of it. You know, as he goes to toss him, AJ lands on his feet.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and
then he runs out of the ring, catches his breath, and then he does it again. And then this will get Lesnar pissed off, and then we'll start seeing actual wrestling.
Yeah, it should be a good one though.
So AJ once again will bring out the best in a wrestler. Overall, I just looking at the card, I give this show a B+ starting out.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a good one.
Almost an A, and the reason why I don't give it an A is because there is so much more room for failure on this, but I can't see it. I mean, WWE really has to shit the bed to ruin this one.
Just gotta wait and see. Watch what happens. Yeah.
I mean, even the Carmella cashing in on Alexa Bliss would make this thing put it in the
that
A,
would be awesome.
Put it in the A category. All right, so there were a couple.
Although biscuit buns is cool.
Yeah. There were a couple other topics I wanted to touch on before we sign off this thing. This being in your wheelhouse with Impact Wrestling, with the budget cuts and getting rid of a lot of wrestlers, there is talks, or it's not talks anymore, but Impact Wrestling moving to Canada.
Yes.
How would you feel if you were contracted talent? Okay, again, sorry with the stop and go on the podcast, but with knowing that you're a talent on a company that's been struggling and now moving to a different country, how comfortable would you feel if, say, you're EC3 moving to Canada now? Because either that or you're going to have to live in the States and get a... Actually, I think EC3 is from Canada, so that doesn't... But if you had to leave your country of origin to get a visa to go back and forth if you wanted to stay in the States or completely move to Canada, how stable would you feel?
I wouldn't like the thought of it, yeah. But I'm sure I heard that's because they can get like a credit or whatever.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, taxes and stuff in the States are ridiculous.
Right. I mean, like I said, it doesn't sound good. But I'm sure they're going to be saving money that way. But, I mean, I guess they're trying to do what they can do to stay alive. But at some point, they should probably just, like, go on hiatus for, like, 6 months or some shit. I don't know, something. See what they can do. See if they can come up with some new ideas or something. I don't know.
And if you guys are hearing cars in the background, we opened up the garage door to get some air in here. I don't think it's going to affect the podcast too much, but it's a beautiful day outside here in Turlock. No kayfabe there. It's the real deal. I got the sun beaming on my back.
SNS Studios.
You know what? No, this is Kayfabe Studios. SNS is my house.
Oh.
Yeah. And no knock on the product. Impact, I don't think they're going to be hurting that much if they took a little hiatus, like you're saying, because Lucha Underground has been on hiatus, and people are actually kind of looking forward to Season 4.
I don't know what that does to the talents, getting paid, but...
Well, that's the great thing about Impact Wrestling is they actually have working relationships with indie and stuff like AAA.
Yeah.
So what they can do is they can actually... their talent can still look around and get jobs in the meantime, where if you're WWE and you took a hiatus...
You gotta wait 90 days, if they even would do that.
You're under contract and you can't do anything, so... And that's where Neville's at right now. He's under that 90-day if he got his release, so he couldn't work anywhere else. So he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. The second thing I want to talk about on Impact Wrestling is the fact that there are rumors, I don't know how much of it's true, that Impact Wrestling has eliminated and completely done away with their imaginary, because it's not an actual location, but their imaginary Hall of Fame. Some of the likes, I don't know all the names that are on the Hall of Fame, but you have the likes of Sting, Bubba Ray, and...
Kurt Angle and Gail Kim last year.
Right, and then you have Earl Hebner, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
if you listen to all these names, none of these people are with the company anymore. All different reasons. But, Jeff Jarrett being one of those also inducted in the Hall of Fame.
He's not in it.
Are you shaking your head? No, but I was told he was.
I heard they were going to put him in this year, but because of what happened...
So with that said, I heard that the Hall of Fame went along with the Jeff Jarrett. What are your thoughts on this, and does it even make a difference?
Say that again?
What part?
The Hall of Fame...
I heard that the Hall of Fame went with Jeff Jarrett when he left. Like, it was no longer a thing.
You saying... Are you saying what do I think about Jeff Jarrett being
No,
in it?
what are your thoughts of them eliminating the Hall of Fame?
Oh. I don't think it's necessary to eliminate it completely. Just don't announce anybody.
And in all fairness, since the Hall of Fame was introduced in, 2012? It's been 5 years?
Something like that.
Do you think it has that prestige to even matter, that they just done away with it? I mean, it's
I enjoyed it when they, put Sting, Angle, and all them in there, but
it's also a hall that doesn't exist. I mean, WWE's a little bit different because they have a history that goes back decades. But this is a hall that doesn't exist, per se. And I don't think that Impact does anything on the level of WWE when it has to, like, these access events where you can actually see nostalgia. So, is it literally just someone's word saying, hey, he's in the Hall of Fame?
Well, you gotta go back to when Impact or TNA, whatever you want to call it, was at the top of their game. I mean, they had AJ Styles, they had Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Bobby Roode, James Storm. They had a good thing going. Unfortunately, right now they're in quite a bit of a slump. I mean, this week's episode was kind of crappy. Last week's was okay. But the week before that was crappy also. But
well, it blows my mind, too, knowing that the company's been around since 2002, correct?
Right.
15 years. And in that 15 years, it took 10 years to get a Hall of Fame started. I mean, they were at their peak, 5 years into their run?
Something.
So
I didn't always follow them. I didn't know about them until...
I would think there's so many other newsworthy names that would be in the Hall of Fame, Unlike, nothing against Earl Hebner, but you would think that James Storm would be on before him.
See, well, that's another thing. It's pretty much official. James Storm's gone now, too.
Right, and there's talks, too, that he may be coming back to WWE.
Yeah.
Which, for those that didn't know, he had a cup of tea and a cup of coffee.
He had a popcorn fart.
Yeah. That's the second time I've heard that term this week.
That's what they say on Shivani's podcast.
They were saying that the match between Natalya versus Alexa Bliss was just going to be a popcorn fart of a match.
Who was it?
Natalya versus Alexa Bliss, so that Charlotte was the big...
Yeah.
All right, Savo, I think that's all the time I have for this episode. This has been a decently sized episode. But I just wanted to give a shout-out to our affiliates, even though his ass didn't make his a presence to this episode this week. And I hear that they're not making their episode this week because he's tired. He's tired. The Cracker. Check out the Wetback and Cracker Power Hour. You can find them on Spreaker at the Wetback and Cracker Power Hour. You can also find them on iTunes. They are, I believe, on Instagram. They're on the Twitter and on Facebook at the Wetback and Cracker Power Hour. And also be sure to check out our other affiliate, big ups to the No Gimmicks Podcast, Todd Smith and Dale Clifford. You can check them out, the No Gimmicks Podcast, on YouTube at the No Gimmicks Podcast. You can also check them out on Facebook at the No Gimmicks Podcast. Or you can hit them up individually, Dale Clifford and Todd Smith. And for us, you can find us on Spreaker at Spreaker.com/Salvo and Stubby Show. You can find us on SoundCloud, Salvo and Stubby Show. You can find us on the Twitter at Salvo and Stubby. You can, huh?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, before we end out completely, we had said that we were going to cover War Games and Stargate.
I'll let you cover that because they're really, I just, like we said in the opening of the show, it's just...
All right, well...
If you want to watch it,
it's an NXT thing, and I don't really watch NXT, so...
Right, and
as far as War Games,
I would think for such a large history behind War Games, that they would use that for the main roster, not for
NXT.
their developmental. But at the same time, it makes sense to me because, one, NXT doesn't exactly draw the same as Raw and SmackDown audience-wise. So they're going to be in the same arena as where Raw or the SummerSlam, where Survivor Series is going to take place.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, so for a developmental roster in such a large arena, and with Raw and SmackDown both struggling to get attendance, I can see them taking up the floor space with two rings to help fill that arena up, and it'll be a decent card. Don't get me wrong. I was taken back when I saw that Roderick Strong was added to the Authors of Pain. It just logistically doesn't make sense to me, so I lost my want to actually see it. So yeah, I mean, did you want to cover it at all? Because
honestly, well,
let's go ahead and talk about the Starrcade, because that holds more. Even though it's not going to be televised, that holds more value to me than. Is Starrcade going to be a WWE brand, or is it going to be the NXT? Even though they're the same company.
Starrcade is going to be, looks like a SmackDown thing.
Okay, so let's hear the card. We'll touch on it real quick.
Okay, well, first it was rumored that the Hardys were going to be there. Now I don't know because Jeff's out.
Right.
Then there was something about the Rock and Roll Express against Anderson and Gallows, which they're past their prime, and I wouldn't want to see it, to be honest. But anyway, there's nothing on the card for that. But what is on the card is Dustin Rhodes, not Goldust, against Dash Wilder.
Yeah, see, Dash was finally medically cleared to come back in December.
Honestly, I don't even know who that is, really.
Part of the revival.
Okay.
Dash and Dustin.
Oh, okay.
Which you have to add Dustin in there simply because it's his dad's show.
Right.
And it does it justice. I'm sure he's going to come out in the gimmick and everything with the cowboy hat.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be good.
Because they call him the Natural.
Yeah.
They played that music, his theme music, from when he was in WCW the other day. It's just like, damn, that's horrible.
Sing it again.
They call him the Natural. The grudge match between Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler.
Not interested.
United States Championship match with Baron Corbin against Shinsuke Nakamura. So that tells you right there. Oh, it's not a title. Erase that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were going to be right, but cards always subject to change.
No, I know, but it's not a title versus title
right.
match.
If that was the case, though, you would have been right. They're like,
Yeah.
they just transcripted that right there.
Right. And then there's a SmackDown Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way. The Usos, New Day, Shelton Benjamin, and Chad Gable versus Kevin Owens and Sammy. That could be interesting, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't like these.
I think I'd be more driven to see it after what happens on Survivor Series.
Well, you're throwing Sammy and Owens in there that you know there's going to be heat. Something's going to go on.
Right.
That's the way I was looking at it. But
I'm almost feeling like it would have been better off if we didn't even touch on this card and we just ended the show. Because I can see why it's not televised.
Okay, well, we've got two more matches. SmackDown's Women's Champ in a steel cage. Is that really necessary?
Let me guess. Let me guess. Charlotte versus Natalya?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that really necessary to have a steel cage for that?
No, but it's the fact. Is it taking place in Carolina? Because I've heard rumors of this, and that was where she was initially supposed to win the belt, the title.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they sped things up.
And then the championship match is AJ against Jinder.
Ooh. Could we see Jinder win it back?
Maybe. He'll probably win it back when they go back to India.
Well, that's the other thing I want to touch on, too. I'm glad you brought that up. So initially, WWE had a second tour in India that was supposed to take place on December 6th and 7th.
Correct.
Well, because of ratings and fan participation and audience, they had to cut the show down to a super show and make it a one-day event. So it's going to be a Raw and SmackDown branded.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because here we go again. Raw and SmackDown meeting for the first time. They only do this once a year, and they're doing it again right after the pay-per-view. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that until now, because they just weren't getting the results that they were going to get. And a lot of people are going to blame that on Jinder, but it's not. I mean, if your product sucks, you can't blame it on the champion. And they're like, well, yeah, you can, because he's the forefront of the company or whatever. But you're putting them against 3 people in the last 6 months.
Right.
So don't
hinder
Jinder. But do you transition AJ that quickly just for one match to give it right back to Jinder? I mean, they're not strangers to doing this. They've done it before.
Well, it could just be, having Jinder in India.
Here's the other thing is, well, that's the oh, wait, no, that match changed. I'm sorry. It's not Jinder versus AJ Styles.
Oh, really?
It's now Triple H versus Jinder.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. So that tells me that...
That guy ever going to fucking give it up? Does he always have to put himself in?
He does, and I thought about
Everybody talks about Dusty Rhodes doing that all the time, but fuck, I think he's taking the cake.
I thought about it for a minute, but at the same time, you've got yourself a guaranteed good hand with Triple H.
No, I know.
And as much as I think some people just need to get out of the spotlight, he does still draw.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see him wrestle. I've seen him wrestle as Hunter, or as Triple H, as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I'm so done with the show. All right.
So talk about somebody who's tired.
Yeah, I've already ran through this. So as usual, wrestling is real. People are fake. It's me, STUBB. Why? Because I'm the man, the myth, the legend, the mighty man himself, Stubby.
Alright, everybody. I can look at Stubby right now and tell he's done. So, it's been real.
Real
Thanks
long.
for listening.
Giggity.
Later.